Hey guys. All right. There we go. Okay. Hey guys, what's up? It's Nicole. Welcome back to my channel, Real Talk Recovery, where we talk about recovery from addiction and I share my life with you. So, you guys, I am just sitting in the living room folding laundry and looking at my face in the thing. So, I'm going to pull my hair down so I don't look so scrubby. But I wanted to come on here and talk to you guys about something that I have a lot of experience with, and that is relapse. I want to talk about relapse, how to identify that you might be going towards a relapse, like what to look out for before a relapse, how to get back on track after a relapse. Okay? So I want to talk to you guys about some warning signs that will come before you pick up. And then I want to talk about, if you do end up picking up, what to do to get back on track after a relapse. Okay? Okay. So first of all, let me tell you why I'm sharing this with you, because I have, so that way you'll know how I'm experienced. So my name's Nicole and I'm an addict, and I have been sober from all drugs and alcohol since July 13th, 2015. But before I got sober in July, I had tried to get sober about 10 times, 10 good tries, right? And 5 of those tries I went to rehab. And I would come out of rehab and I would, try to stay sober. And a lot of times I would stay sober for 3 to 6 months, and then I would relapse. And so I would get myself a pretty good program going on, right? A pretty good schedule. Like I would have like a habit. I would wake up, and this is in recovery, and I would call my sponsor and I would do my meditation and I would go to meetings. Like I had a good schedule going on. And so I knew what it took to stay sober, which was reaching out, calling my sponsor, reading my big book, studying my addiction and learning about, addiction and recovery, building a relationship with my higher power, which I call God, and staying connected to my support system. So I always knew what it took. Hey, Jexie, I always knew what it took to stay sober, right? So whenever I would get sober in the past, there was always something that I would do. Hey, Ian, there was always something that I would stop doing that would lead me to relapse, okay? Every time. And, hindsight is 20/20, but now that I'm sober and I've been sober for 4 years, I can tell you guys each time, each relapse, what went wrong. And so all those relapses I had led me to this day today that I'm in now, in recovery now. Because every one of those relapses, you guys, I learned from those relapses. And I learned that every time I relapsed, every time, you guys, it was because I stopped doing something. And each time it was something different. And that's what I'm going to share with you guys today. So I remember in particular this one time I actually had just gotten out of prison, and I paroled out from prison to a halfway house here in Little Rock. And I got into the halfway house. I got a sponsor. I started going to meetings, and I started working my 12 steps, and I got a job. Okay? I was set up for success, right? I had the world at my fingertips. Recovery was mine, and I was working towards it too. I started working at my job. Things were going great. I knew I had to stay focused on my recovery. I knew my recovery had to come first. And so I started out on the right path, right? I made sure that my boss knew I was in recovery. I made sure that they knew that I needed certain days off so I could attend my meetings. Things were going really well. And then some things shifted. At my job, my boss ended up going into rehab for heroin addiction. And so here I am, just a regular crew member, bumped up to take his position as manager. And I was very good at my job. So I was like, yeah, sure, I can do that. I can be a manager. So they bumped me up, and guess what happened? I ended up getting the money too. $17 an hour. So here I am, 5 months sober, manager of the deli inside of Kroger, $17 an hour, insurance and benefits. Well, instead of saying, no, I can't take the position, I have to focus on my recovery, I got blinded by money. I got blinded by my ego and my pride because I wanted that position. I wanted to have that money. I wanted, to say, yeah, I'm the manager of the deli, right? So I took the position, and then the position ended up taking all my time. I was working 60 plus hours a week. And by the time I would get off work, I was so tired, I would just go home and go to sleep instead of going to a meeting or calling my sponsor. So it started out as I was going to 3 meetings a week. And as I got more hours working and more money came in, I stopped going to 1 meeting. So I was only going to 2 meetings a week. And that lasted for like a month, and I was doing fine on 2 meetings. And then I dropped off another meeting. And then I was just going to 1 meeting a week. Then I stopped showing up to my meetings. I stopped calling my sponsor because I was just so busy. My job took priority over my recovery. But I didn't realize that this was what was happening while I was in the moment, right? So I stopped calling my sponsor. My job is taking priority. I'm not going to my meetings. And then I was out one night with my friend Jennifer, and then that damn trigger showed up. Some people that we were around were using Roxy's. And it was like I had never even quit using drugs. I had no defense. When it was offered to me, I said, sure, I'll take one. I had no defense against that first drink or drug because I wasn't practicing any of the things I had learned in my recovery. Hey, S. Williams. So I took a Roxy that night and I relapsed. And that night when I relapsed, the very thought in my mind when I took that first pill was, fuck it. Fuck it. I already screwed up. Might as well just get fucked up. Right? And that's what I did. And I started shooting up. And I picked up right where I left off. Well, at that point, you guys, when I relapsed, that was in 2011. I didn't get sober until 2015. I stayed out for 4 years. And I didn't come back. So those are things that happened to me along the way that I stopped doing for my recovery. And that's why when I'm talking to you guys and I'm saying your recovery has to come first, you cannot forget that the job, that position might be really great, okay? But we have to think, if I take this position, am I going to be able to handle doing my recovery and this position? Okay, let me give you another example, okay? So a lot of the times I relapsed and it wasn't because of a job at all, right? Okay, it was because of something going on inside of me. All right, so let's talk about this. Okay, so the time before that, before I ever even went to prison, okay, I had just gotten out of treatment and I had been going to this treatment center. It's called Quapaw House in Hot Springs. And my parents had just allowed me. I just got out of treatment. I'd been in there for 30 days. My parents said, you can come and you can move back in with us if you stay sober. So I was like, all right, yeah, I'll stay sober. So I moved back in with my mom and dad. And I had gotten a sponsor. I remember her name was Candace. And I was going to meetings, but not much, okay? And so in this time that I was doing this, I was still wanting to do things halfway. So I would go to like 1 meeting every other week, and I would call my sponsor every day, but I wouldn't do exactly what she asked me to do, right? And so when I got confronted with a problem or a trigger, I didn't know how to handle it, okay? And so I hadn't built that relationship with her to where when something happened, I could reach out to her and call her. I was still thinking I could handle it on my own, and I was ashamed, right? I was like, why am I feeling this way? Why am I thinking about wanting to get high? You guys, I'm here to tell you that if you think about getting high, that is totally normal. That is what we addicts do. Okay? There is nothing bad about that. That is what we do. Okay? There's no reason to be ashamed of thinking about wanting to use. Okay? As long as you don't act on those thoughts, everything's going to be okay. Right? But when you're having those thoughts, you need to tell somebody. You need to let someone know, hey, I've been thinking about using. I don't know why. And then you need to sit down and you need to talk to somebody about why you've been thinking about using. And that's what I failed to do. I was thinking about using, you guys, because I had stress going on in my life. My parents wanted me to get a job. I needed to pay my car payment and insurance. And I was failing miserable at finding a job, right? Nobody wanted to hire me because I had a horrible job reference at the time. And so I was getting really, really stressed out. And so instead of reaching out to my sponsor and saying, hey, I'm really struggling. I got a lot of stress and I need help. I just tried to handle it on my own and I ended up getting high, And so I guess what I'm sitting here and I'm telling you all this for is because if you will pay attention to what you're going through and how you're feeling, you can almost kind of catch yourself before you're going to fall, right? And if you don't catch it before it happens and you relapse, what you need to do now that you've relapsed is you need to analyze what happened before your relapse. Go back 2 months and think, okay, 2 months ago, I was calling my sponsor. I was reading my big book. I was going to meetings. I was active in my recovery. What happened? Oh, I remember. It first started out because I stopped going to my meetings and I stopped reaching out for help and I stopped praying and you know what I'm saying? Because that's what will happen. Slowly but surely we get into this comfort zone, right? And we're getting comfortable. Hey, Stephanie. And we get comfortable and we laid back and everything's going good. And that's the thing, you guys. When everything's going good, we feel like we got this. We don't need to practice staying sober, right? But I'm here to tell you, when everything's going good, that's when you need to be beefing up on your recovery the most. Because when we're doing this repetition over and over and over again like we're doing right now, this is going to set you up for whenever something goes bad. Because then you're going to have those skills. You're going to practice that shit. And you're going to say, I remember Nicole from Real Talk Recovery told me, she said it. She said, when life's going good, I'm not going to want to get high. I'm going to be okay. But then something bad's going to come out of nowhere and it's going to catch me off guard, right? So that's why we got to study and practice while we're feeling good. So that way, when life gets tough, we can get tougher, right? And we can whip Relapse's ass and say, get the fuck on out of here. There's nothing to be ashamed of, right? I used to relapse so much, you guys. It was so much that I wouldn't even call it a relapse because I was just getting high all the time. You know what I mean? I would never get any recovery. So there's nothing to be ashamed of. If you learn from that, then that's what the good thing about it is. It's that's what we're trying to do. If you have a relapse and you get high, you need to learn from that, and you need to look back and figure out what it was that you stopped doing, right? Because it's always something, and you need to think about what stressors, what triggers you have going on in your life. And if there's a way for you to remove those things from your life, you need to do that. Okay? If you have family members who are on medications that it's tempting you, you need to remove that shit out of your life, right? If you have friends or loved ones or people that you kick it with that are still getting high, get them out of your life, right? Those are just things that are going to set you up for failure. And I'm not I'm not trying to be like a lame or no fun, but you guys, I'm telling you, like, keeping people around you that are getting high, it's not going to affect them. It's going to ruin your life because somebody else might be able to handle using and drinking, but you can't. I can't, right? We can't do that. So we have got to set that boundary and say, listen, I can't have you in my life anymore. So now let's talk about, now that we talked about the warning signs and the things to look at before a relapse, right? Now let's talk about what we need to do if we relapse, okay? So if you relapse, say you have a slip and you go out and get high, the first thing you need to do is tell someone that you relapsed. Absolutely. Call your sponsor, call your best friend, call somebody and tell them that you relapsed. Okay? Because what will happen if you stay in that relapse and don't tell anyone, then what's going to happen is you're not going to come back. You're going to stay getting high because you're going to think that nobody has you figured out and that the secret is safe with you, right? So the minute you relapse, you need to tell somebody, hey, I got high. Okay? I got high. I need help. I don't know what to do. I need some support. All right? And that's going to be the hardest part for you is getting honest and telling somebody. Because, of course, in our minds, we all think that we're the only people that have ever relapsed in the history of relapsing. But it's just, that's the thing that we do. Us addicts, we think that we're so much different than everybody else, and everybody else has never been through what we've been through. In all actuality, everybody's been there. You know what I mean? So the hardest thing's going to be to do to fess up to it. All right. Once you own up to it, though, that's the best. That's the hardest part past. Okay. So after you get honest, then you need to get the drugs or whatever you're using out. Throw everything away. Get out of the place where you were using. Just get away from that stuff. Put distance between you and those drugs. All right. And the next thing I would do is if you can't get to a meeting in person, I would get online and get into some kind of support group where you can talk to other people and you can bounce ideas off of people and you can say, yeah, so I just relapsed, you guys, and I really need some help and I need you guys to help me on what you think I should do next, or is there anyone that I can call and talk to, like, because I need support, you know? And that's the things that you're going to do is you're going to need support so that way you can really start talking about why it is that you still want to get high. Because that's what it is, you guys. Like, we get high because we want that feeling produced by drugs and alcohol. And that's it. It's okay. Like, that's what we do. That's what we're drug addicts, right? But what we have to do is we have to realize that, hey, I obviously have reservations, right? I obviously think that there's still something that I can get from drugs, okay? And so sometimes what we have to do is we have to sit down and sit with people who have been through down through there and maybe been a little bit farther than we have down the addiction hole, and then they can share with us their stories about being homeless and almost dying, and that way we can hear like, hey, I don't want to get to that point. I don't want to die, right? And that's all that's the reality of what relapse is, you guys, is that you're going to die. It might not be soon, but eventually you'll get there, you know? And that's how serious addiction is, because it's going to take your life. So being honest and telling someone is the number one thing you need to do. Get to a support group, meeting somewhere that you can talk to other people and have support. And if you do not have a sponsor or an accountability partner and you've relapsed, then you need to get one right away. Like, if you're lollygagging on that, then you need to get serious, okay? Get yourself a sponsor. Ask somebody that you trust. Hey, can I call you and check in every day and us talk about recovery? I really need someone else to talk to. Like, stop thinking that you can do it on your own, because that's what your addiction is trying to fool you into thinking. And that's why you keep on failing and falling back, because you're depending on your own self, your own will. And what you've done is you've gotten yourself this far in addiction. So why don't you surrender and let someone else help you and guide you? you know? So that's my pointers for you if you're struggling, you guys, or if you have a relapse and, you know, you don't know how to get back on track. Always be honest and let someone know if you're struggling. There's nothing to be ashamed of. I know for me, you guys, like, I will never judge anybody for fucking relapsing. If you do relapse and you're close to me, I will know about it. I relapsed after 5 years of recovery and I thought it was the end of the world. It was a new beginning. Right. Okay, so Emily, listen, here's the deal. Because you can learn from that, and that can start. Sometimes we got to fall off to have a major comeback. Do you know what I'm saying? And then what you can do is you can build your whole new recovery on that fucking fallback, right? Because sometimes that's what has to happen. What is the saying they say? Rock bottom will be the foundation that you build your sobriety on, or something like that. Basically what they're saying is some of us have to get knocked down bad to like get that inside of us and come back and fight for our recovery. Because what happens is sometimes we take life for granted. Okay? Sometimes we take our recovery and staying sober for granted. And we forget what it was like there out there in active addiction. And sometimes we have to go and get our ass whooped a couple more times to realize, hey, I don't want to do that anymore. That's no fun. You know? Recovery is nice, you guys. Being sober is good. I love my life today. I don't want to go back to that old hellhole that I used to be in. I don't want to go back to actually feel good about myself today, you know, and I don't want to trade my happiness for that anymore. But I'm not immune. No one is immune to relapse, you guys. And so that's why we have to stay diligent in our recovery and practice what works for our recovery. And so, like I said, repetition, you guys, repetition, practicing the same thing over and over again. Recovery is just a lot of repetition, and it helps a lot. I'm telling you, like, it has changed my life. Like, I have a schedule. I have a plan every day when I wake up. Like, I'm not just wandering out when I go out and stuff, you know, because when I used to do that without any guidance, any direction, I would wander my ass onto the dope man's house. You know, so today I have a plan. I have a plan for every day. So that way my little car doesn't drive me to the dope man's house, because sometimes I'm on autopilot, you guys. And that's, if you're a subscriber of mine, you got a whole family of people behind you over here on Real Talk Recovery. And if you ever need to reach out to me, all you got to do is email me. It doesn't cost anything to talk to me. You can email me and I will email you right back. There are plenty of people in this chat right now that will tell you that they have emailed me and I've sent them my phone number and we talk, you know, on the regular. I'm just trying to help you guys because I want y'all to succeed in your recovery. And, yeah, that's all I gotta say today. I love you guys. I know you guys are subscribed to my friend Jason with These Four Walls, and I love Jason so much, you guys. And he is probably my best friend he's the best friend I've ever had since I've gotten sober. So I just worry about him. And so, I know you guys watched his video. And I've totally been there, you know. And so, that's why it's so important, you guys, to never judge anybody. Because we never know when somebody's struggling, you know. And that's why it's so important for us to stay connected and to stay connected and stay accountable and stay talking to each other. You know, you're never alone, and there's nothing that any of you are going through that I haven't gone through. Believe that. And so it's just so important to talk things out and to let people know when you're struggling, because we can't help you if you're not talking about it, you know? So anyway, I just love all of you guys, and I want every one of you to succeed, and just staying connected is so important. Like, this is so true. The opposite of addiction is connection. addiction is isolation and darkness and hiding out, keeping secrets, and recovery is connecting and staying accountable and supporting and loving one another and tolerant. That's what recovery is about. So that's how you stay in recovery, is staying connected and being in a support system and loving others and being tolerant and practicing repetition over and over again, because that's what we did in our active addiction. We studied how to get high. We fucking practiced getting high every single day. So now that you're sober, you got to practice staying sober every single day. So, okay, I'm done. That's my spiel for the day. I hope you guys are all having a good day. I just love coming on here, and when I feel something heavy on my heart, I gotta say it. I gotta come on here and share about it, Love you guys too. I think it's here. I think it's HERE. But anyway, welcome to all the new people on my channel. I've seen y'all. I've seen a lot of you guys that are new, and I'm really excited to have y'all here. Just so you know, if you're not familiar, I do every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. we do a big book study, which is reading out of the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous. And next week we are on the last section of more about alcoholism, I think. And then on Friday, we have a medically assisted treatment support group, which is for anybody who is on medically assisted treatment. So, and if you're not on there, you can come too. But that's Tuesdays and Fridays at 7 p.m. And on Sundays, we do the Narcotics Anonymous basic text. And we just did yesterday. We read the first chapter, Who is an Addict? And it was so good. So, yeah, if you guys are struggling or you just want to learn more about addiction and have support and have people to talk to while you're learning, go ahead and take a second, subscribe to my channel, and stay here with us, because that's what we are. We're like a little family over here. So we're all just trying to learn and stay consistent, because that's what I've learned over the couple of years, is that consistency is key, you guys, and just staying on top of my behavior and giving back to others is what helps me stay sober every single day. Did you like it, Brian? Okay, good. I'm telling you, like, reading it, sorry, I had a piece of a hangnail. Reading the Narcotics Anonymous basic text is a lot more modern than the Alcoholics Anonymous one, which was very new for me, because I'm used to trying to break down the 1930s Alcoholics Anonymous book for you guys, which I think I've gotten kind of good at. I think I understand it pretty well, but like with the Narcotics Anonymous one, I could just read it, and then I could be like, yeah, that's exactly what I would say, So I thought it was pretty cool. I really enjoyed reading it. It was a lot more easy to understand. So I'm glad that you guys are understanding it, because if you guys are understanding it, then I know that, because you know what I'm saying? Like, that's good. So anyway, I love you guys. And, yeah, I'm going to keep that going on Sundays. You guys, like, that's my routine uploading schedule. Sundays, Tuesdays, and Fridays. Like, it's never going to change. Like, I'm just going to keep doing those things. We'll just go through each of the books until we get done. And then when we get done with those books, I'll get another book from Narcotics Anonymous that I can read, and then another book from AA that I can read, and we'll go through that. I think after we do the AA big book, I wanted to go through the 12 and 12 with you guys, and then maybe I don't know if there's a 12 and 12 for Narcotics Anonymous, but if there is, I'll do that. And then, during the week, what I try to do is like find an inspirational recovery story that I can read to you guys, because I know you guys just like hearing like other people's stories. So eventually what I want to do is I don't know if you guys know this, but over on my Patreon, the people who are there, they pay a monthly subscription service, right? And so instead of taking those monthly dues out of that account, I'm leaving it there until it builds up to enough to buy my own camera. Okay. And so once that Patreon builds up to enough, I'll get my own camera, and then I'll be able to videotape people and have them share their story here for you guys. So I'm really excited about that. But that's just like the future, you know what I mean? What the future holds. But yeah, so anyway, I love you guys, and I hope you guys are all having a great day. And I really do appreciate each and every one of you who support my channel. I mean, just watching my videos, it really does help me a lot. You know, over here on YouTube, when you're a smaller creator, your videos don't like, I don't even think, I haven't even gotten a YouTube check yet. I think, I went on my analytics, you guys, to see how much I had money I had raised on my YouTube just from analytics, and it's $97. And so YouTube won't send you the money until you hit $100. So they won't like cut you a check until you hit $100. So I'm not there yet. But it's like those of you who like support me through Patreon or like send me PayPal donations, like your financial support has really helped me a lot. To be able to like do extra things on my channel, and you know, really appreciate it, and it means the world to me. So anyway, hey Krissy, I see you, girl. I love you guys, and I hope you guys are all having a great day. And I had to share with you about Relapse because I've struggled for so many years, you guys, to get sober. So many years. And I used to think that I was the only one struggling, and I didn't think I was ever going to get it. I never thought that I was going to get my life together. I thought I had given up on my life. I had given up all hope, and I thought that I was going to die an addict. And then my son was born, and that's what made my life have meaning again. And that's what rekindled hope in my heart, is having my son. And so if it wasn't for my son, I don't even think I would be here today, you know? So what I say all that to say is that there is always hope. You know, you can always come back. It's possible, because I've done it. So if I can do it, anybody can do it. Anyway, Sundays, Tuesdays, and Fridays at 7 p.m. I love you guys, and I'll see you later.